Carousel of Life, Chapter 24, Bridal Style. A Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction written based on the Adrinette April 2019 daily prompts. If you missed any of the previous chapters, you can find links to them in the description box below, or click on the card in the upper right corner for the playlist. And without further ado, let's hop on the Carousel of Life. I'm not talking about everyone in Hawkmoth's mother, I'm just talking about him. The best kept secrets are those you never share, Tiki admonished gently. Marinette buried her head under the comforter and sobbed, sniffling with every inhalation. Tiki nudged her way under the comforter and tickled Marinette's face with the tissue. She accepted it and blew her nose. I'm sorry, Marinette. I know it isn't easy, but Master Fu chose you because you're strong and responsible enough to do the right thing. The words were bitter, like chasing mint with orange juice. What's the worst that can happen? Marinette mumbled into the comforter. The end of the world? That's ridiculous, Tiki. You don't have to exaggerate. I'm not exaggerating, Marinette. The role of miraculous holders is to keep this world in equilibrium. A minor imbalance can have devastating effects. There's a reason we Kwamis are hardwired not to be able to speak the names of our holders even to other Kwamis. But you and Chanoir's Kwami have seen both of us, Marinette countered. Alia and Nino know about each other, and nothing horrific has happened yet. You know there's a difference, Marinette, Tiki cautioned. Alia and Nino don't keep their miraculouses on at all times the way you and Chanoir do. Hawkmoth isn't after their miraculouses. Tiki was right, and Marinette wasn't happy about it at all. Failing to come up with an argument, she succumbed to a fresh wave of tears, curling tighter under the blankets. Tiki pressed against Marinette's cheek to comfort her. This isn't fair. He loves me, she sniffled. He's suffering for absolutely no reason. Why can't I just tell him? All right, Marinette, go ahead and tell him, Tiki challenged, losing patience. Then go and say goodbye to Chanoir, since you'll have to give up being Ladybug. Annoyance flickered in Marinette's chest and she sat up. Don't sass me, Tiki. It's not like I'm trying to be rebellious. I just need a solution. There are some things in life that you can't solve by charging forward and doing something, Marinette. Sometimes you just have to be patient. You can't tell him you're Ladybug, so until he's ready to be with only Marinette, you'll have to wait. But he already knows who I am. He can sense it. Why should he have to suffer for being right? He doesn't know, he suspects, Tiki corrected. Oh, and speaking of Chanoir, Tiki let out a high-pitched sound of exasperation and flitted away from Marinette, who leaned over the loft rail after her. Why can't you just tell me? Is he Chanoir or not? I know you know who he is. And I also know you're not going to tell me, but you know what? I think he is Chanoir. All the puns and calling me princess and everything. I don't know why I didn't see it before. What's the use of secrecy if we already know? Isn't it more dangerous that we're agonizing over identities instead of focusing on how to defeat Hawkmoth? Marinette, Tiki warned, crossing her arms and shaking her head at her chosen's borderline hysteria. First of all, calm down. Marinette pressed her lips together, seething, her cheeks still wet with tears. I am calm. Good. Secondly, what proof do you have that Adrien is Chanoir? They act the same, Marinette insisted. Yes, when Adrien was dressed like Chanoir and trying to act like him, Tiki reasoned. You know he's a talented actor. There's no need to jump to conclusions. Marinette opened her mouth, then closed it again, reevaluating what she knew. Was that all it was? Surely not. Didn't he pun all the time? Didn't Marinette have a black cat strap hanging on her phone that he had given her? Didn't he push to call their fictional cafe the Black Cat Cafe when they did that English project together? It wasn't normal to be so fixated on black cats. He had written in his poem that he saw Ladybug every day. Ladybug did not see Adrien every day. But Ladybug did see Chanois almost every day. And the princess nickname? Adrien had no reason to know Chanois called her that, and the way he said it was just the same. He was a fool if he thought he could pass it off as a coincidence. He was so obvious. Subtlety had never been Chanois' strong suit. The thought struck Marinette's heart with a pang of longing fondness. Now that she felt like she could see him, what used to annoy her simultaneously filled her with excited curiosity and melted her heart. The answer was clear. It made so much sense. Marinette glared at her Kwame. "Tiki," she intoned, "I trust you not to lie to me." "Marinette, I am only trying to protect you and the entire universe," Tiki scolded, hands on her hips. Marinette's eyes filled with fresh tears when Tiki didn't deny it. "I take that to mean that he is Shap, but you're just refusing to tell me. Please, can I tell him? I love him, Tiki. He's beating himself up over nothing and it's not fair." "I'm sorry, Marinette, but I can't condone you telling him only so you can be together. There are things more important than the love between two teenagers." Tiki said it with warmth and compassion, but Marinette received the words like a door slamming in her face. "I get it," she spat bitterly. "Adrien's happiness and mine aren't important at all." Her face crumpled as she curled into the covers again with her back toward Tiki, racked with angry sobs. The trapdoor creaked open and Tiki disappeared in a flash. "Marinette, I'm coming in," Sabine called softly. When Marinette didn't respond, she opened the trapdoor wider. Marinette heard her mother set a tray down on her desk and the quiet groan of the ladder as she began to ascend to Marinette's bed. "Sweetie," Sabine cooed, "are you crying? Are you all right? To whom were you speaking just now?" "I'm fine, Maman, just sick." Marinette's congested voice was thick with tears. She ignored the last question and hoped her mother wouldn't press. "Do you want to talk, darling?" Sabine shuffled closer on her knees and stroked the lump of Marinette's shoulder. "It's okay, you don't have to pretend. I know you're not really sick." "It's Adrien," Marinette's muffled voice escaped. Sabine sighed. "Oh, sweetie, what happened?" Marinette stayed still, trying to slow her tears and seriously consider what to tell her mother. She didn't want a half-truth to snowball into accidentally telling her more than she needed to know. Instead, Marinette decided to ask for advice. "Maman, what do you do if there's a painful misunderstanding that you know could be fixed if you could just tell the whole truth, but you can't for some reason? Like, say you're keeping a secret for someone else, and they'd get hurt if you told the secret, so you're obligated not to say anything, but at the same time, keeping that secret is hurting another person who's really important to you." Sabine raised an eyebrow. "Is Adrien making you keep a secret that's hurting someone?" No. Marinette emerged from the covers, rubbing tears out of her eyes and tucked her hair behind one ear. "He's the other person who's being hurt by a secret I have to keep." Sabine frowned and reached out to smooth a tangle in Marinette's hair. "What is this secret? Are you okay?" Marinette waved a hand dismissively and shook her head. "Don't worry about the secret. It's just a friend's secret. But it's caused a big misunderstanding that's making Adrien feel bad and think he's not allowed to be with me even though he loves me. And I know I could fix everything by telling him the truth, but I just can't betray my other friend like that, so now I don't know what to do." Sabine took hold of Marinette's hands, rubbing circles into them with her thumbs. "Relax, sweetie," she soothed. "Rewind. Are you saying you and Adrien broke up?" "Yes, we did," Marinette admitted dolefully. "But don't let that get out, please. The media doesn't know yet." "Oh, Ying Hua." Sabine gave her daughter a compassionate look and pulled her head down to plant a kiss on her forehead. "You know you can trust me with anything. I can't give you the best advice without knowing the full situation, but if there's something hurting him and you know the truth would set him at ease, why don't you focus on reassuring him that there's nothing to worry about?" "Easier said than done. He isn't responding." Marinette thought of the barrage of text messages she had sent to Adrien, piling up in their messaging box unread. Her anxiety told her it was because breaking up meant they weren't supposed to talk anymore, but the logical part of her brain latched onto the fact that he had said he still loved her, and was far too kind-hearted to do anything so callous as ignore her, especially after having assured her that she was important to him. Yet he had avoided talking to her before. Doubts gnawed at Marinette like termites. What exactly was okay and not okay now that they were no longer dating? "Why didn't you just go to school?" Sabine inquired rationally. "You could have talked to him there." Marinette bit her lip. She couldn't exactly tell her mother, "I stayed because I was too depressed to get up in time, then I got sucked into arguing with my Kwame about letting me tell him that I'm actually the superhero he thinks he was emotionally cheating on me with." She went for another half-truth. "I was so stressed out I didn't finish my paper last night. I couldn't come to class empty-handed." That was true, and it was part of the reason she hadn't wanted to face the day that morning. Sabine clicked her tongue disapprovingly. "Marinette, you shouldn't let whatever is happening between you and Adrien affect your studies. I'm fine with letting you take a mental health day if you need it, but I don't want to see you slacking in your schoolwork." "I know," Marinette grumbled. "These were extenuating circumstances." Sabine frowned. "I brought you some soup and bread. Why don't you get up, eat, and finish that paper? I'm sure you'll start feeling better once you get something done. Wallowing has never helped anyone." "Okay," Marinette conceded with a sigh. Sabine tugged on Marinette's hands. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Even if you feel like you're at an impasse, no situation lasts forever. Just do what you feel is right, and when you can't do anything, be patient. If he really loves you and you love him, you will find a way to see eye to eye without having to betray a friend." Marinette pondered whether this was true. She was starting to believe that revealing her identity, and possibly Adrien's, the thought filled her with trepidation, was the only way to close the chasm between them. Nonetheless, her mother's advice was solid by normal human standards. "Yes, Maman, thanks." "Come here, Ying Hua." Sabine held out her arms and Marinette crawled forward into her embrace, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. "It's very sweet of you to be concerned about not hurting Adrien, but if the secret isn't yours to tell, you'll just have to keep it. Maybe there's another solution to the problem that hasn't occurred to you yet." "You're right, Maman," Marinette murmured, feeling ever so grateful for her mother's soft touch. Though she was essentially telling Marinette the same thing Tiki had, Marinette felt much more optimistic that things could turn out fine after her mother's reassurance. Once Sabine left, she got up, ate the soup and bread, took a shower and brushed her teeth, before sitting down to work on the paper. She did feel better now that she was clean and doing things. Tiki meekly helped her find useful passages in her history book, saying nothing more about that morning's topic. "You know, if you're feeling better, you could still make it to school after lunch," Tiki suggested. "Maybe." Marinette was about a third through the paper, but if she really focused, she could finish in time for afternoon classes. She felt guilty and lazy for staying home while Adrien had probably gone to school as normal. She wondered how he was doing. Usually he was able to text surreptitiously during class, but he still hadn't responded to any of her messages from last night. Following that train of thought, Marinette whipped out her phone. After nuzzling the black cat plush charm against her cheek, she checked her messages. Still no update from Adrien. She opened Adrien's thread and reread her outgoing messages forlornly. "Hey, Adrien. I understand what you're trying to do and I appreciate that you're trying to do right by me, but honestly, I think you're being too hard on yourself. You don't have to be perfect, you know? Plus, I can't do this via text. We need to talk. Adrien, are you there? Can I call you? Can we talk during lunch tomorrow? I'm really sorry. This is all my fault." Those were from the previous night, then a few from that morning. "Good morning, Adrien. Sorry for all the messages. I just really need to talk to you. Hello? Okay, I get it if you need space, but please give me a chance to explain something before you shut me out. I'm sorry I didn't come to school today. I was really out of it last night and I didn't finish my paper and needed to buy some time, but we can still talk during lunch or after school. I know that was super irresponsible of me. It's just... I was really upset about yesterday, actually. We need to talk. Please! She had wanted to tell him she was Ladybug. Screw the rules. It didn't even matter if he was Shenhua or not. She hated hurting Adrien this way. And then the argument with Tiki had happened. Marinette sighed as frustration and anxiety started to bubble up again, and she closed the messaging thread. There was one unread message from Alia asking where she was. Marinette typed a response. Sorry. Had a rough morning. Is Adrien there? Girl, no. I figured you two were off gallivanting. Marinette snorted at Alia's word choice. Yeah, right. I'm quote-unquote sick. Wait, so he's not in class? Now that she stopped to think about it, Marinette vaguely recalled that Adrien had mentioned an upcoming photo shoot a few days ago. Was that scheduled for today? She had been so caught up in the preparations for the fashion show and then the breakup that she had completely forgotten. No, you seriously don't know where he is? Sick, huh? What's really going on, girl? I just couldn't today. I didn't finish my paper last night. You didn't answer my question. Okay. Don't freak out, but we broke up. Marinette's fingers suddenly went cold with dread as she hit the send button too hastily. She was so used to telling Alia everything about Adrien, it just slipped out, and she immediately realized how stupid she had been. The info was out, and to none other than Alia, who was not exactly reputed for her excellent secret-keeping skills. Of course, Marinette trusted her as a friend, but she had valid reasons to worry about the gossip getting out. That would be an utter disaster, especially since there were so many unanswered questions and unsolved issues surrounding their relationship still. Alia answered with a keyboard mash. Marinette's thumbs were a blur as she knocked out follow-up texts. Please don't talk about it though, the media's not supposed to know. I'm serious, it would be a disaster if anyone found out. Please don't say anything to anyone. Not even Nino. Please. I'm gonna kill this kid. Please don't kill him. Please promise me you won't do anything. It's not as bad as it sounds. I just really need to deal with this myself. Please, Alia. Anyway, it's not entirely his fault. Not entirely? Partly his fault is still grounds to kill him. No, it's really not his fault at all. Don't kill him. Just find out where he is. Please, ask Nino. Grr, don't let him off the hook so easily. I am not happy with the way he's been yanking you around lately. But okay, sit tight, girl. Thanks. There was no use trying to explain the situation to Alia right now, especially when Marinette felt like she was only beginning to grasp what was going on herself. She drummed her fingers on the back of her phone, too impatient to do anything else while waiting for the reply. Photo shoot. Ah, yeah. So that was today. Marinette sighed, half in relief and half in disappointment. Relief because he probably wasn't responding to her messages only because he didn't have his phone on him. Disappointment because the photo shoot he had mentioned was for a new major perfume line and was supposed to take all day, meaning she wouldn't see him even if she did make it back to school after lunch. Thanks. Where? Nino doesn't know. Why, are you planning on crashing his shoot? Don't do that, girl. Seriously, if you need to talk to him, wait until after. Don't worry about it. In class, Alia peered at the phone in her lap and rolled her eyes at Marinette's cryptic answer. That meant she was probably going to go. Classic Marinette. She shook her head in exasperated concern before glaring at the empty seat beside Nino. Hey, you okay by the way? You never told me why you broke up. Marinette thought about it for a moment. Was she okay? She wasn't devastated over the breakup, since Adrien had told her he loved her, and she believed him. She was frustrated and depressed about the situation that seemed to offer no way out, but her mother's encouragement that patience would bring about a solution had pulled her into a more optimistic headspace. She answered truthfully, I will be okay, eventually. Don't worry about me. You sure? You want to talk? Should I come over during lunch? Seriously, I'm fine. I just need to sort things out with Adrien. See you tomorrow, okay? We'll talk then. Again, please don't say anything. Promise! I won't. I promise. Marinette breathed a sigh of relief. Alia could be a meddler, but she kept her word. Marinette! Tiki interrupted the text conversation. You won't finish in time if you keep getting distracted by your phone. I know. She set aside her phone and scrolled through the first 2 pages of her draft, trying to reset her brain to focus on the link between 1st through 3rd century Roman society and developments in architecture and engineering. Tiki, where was that page about the Roman baths? Tiki flipped to the page helpfully. Thanks. 2 sentences in, Marinette's mind was already on a tangent. Adrien had mentioned that the new fragrance line was called Little Prince, and the look was inspired by pre-Raphaelite art. There would be lots of flowers, pastel fabrics, lace, and pretty little details. A shoot like that would have to take place in a park. There was no way they would set it up in a studio, especially with the weather as nice as it was right now. Bac Monceau, maybe? Marinette wondered aloud. The columns would be a perfect touch for the shoot. Tiki perked up suspiciously. Marinette, you're not thinking about the Roman baths, are you? Marinette pushed the butt of her stylus into her cheek. I have all day to finish this paper. The introduction and first paragraph are done, and I know what I'm going to write for the other points, so the rest should be a piece of cake. Can we take a quick break, please? She appealed. I'll focus better once we get back. Tiki regarded her charge disapprovingly. The validity of the last statement probably depended on the outcome of the rendezvous Marinette was clearly planning. Still, she knew Marinette's one-track mind wouldn't let her rest until she got the impulse out of her system. I suppose I can't stop you, but you are not going as Ladybug, she warned. I wasn't planning to. Marinette's face brightened and she shot up, abandoning her paper in search of a comfortable yet cute outfit. She was going to go and fix this mess. Intuition tended to serve Marinette well. She relied on it heavily as Ladybug, and it managed to pull her through times of uncertainty even in her civilian life. Like now, for example. The Bac Monceau had been a wild guess on her part, a guess that made sense, but a guess that required her to commit to a half-hour bike ride without any promise of finding the boy she sought. She could have taken the metro, but she wanted her bike with her in case she got the location of the shoot wrong and had to do some looking around. Intuition had not failed her this time, though, and searching wasn't necessary. Lo and behold, as Marinette slowed her pedaling to rest at a bench near the columns, she spotted the familiar camera and makeup crew first, then the shining figure of Adrien in white and pastel blue fabrics, edges delicately embroidered, looking like a cherub prince out of a fantasy novel. He was posing against one of the columns, which was embellished with a vine of climbing roses. Behind stood a lattice arch woven with additional blossoms and sprigs of flowers. More roses, ranunculus, hydrangeas and peonies in various shades of white, pink, and pastel blue. The lake was visible through the arch, and Marinette could only imagine the whole scene would make a pretty bouquet wash. Adrien himself looked like an otherworldly figure, like a fairy gracing the human world with his presence, his face shining with ethereal light. Marinette felt comparatively plain and unsightly in her mid-thigh-length pink overall dress and striped black and white cotton shirt. The biker shorts she wore underneath felt stuffy from the exercise, and she wiped a thin film of sweat from her forehead and nose. She pictured her leather-clad partner reclining against the column, and just like everything else, it clicked. She sometimes forgot, with the passive and even somewhat shy way that Adrien acted in school and in groups, but when his model switch was flipped on, the boy knew how to put on a show. She could plainly see Chat Noir's dramatic flair in Adrien. Adrien, of course, spotted her within moments. So much for being subtle. At least it was better than being awkward and wondering how she could get his attention. She fingered one of the French braided pigtails she had twisted her hair into and held up the other hand in a brief wave of greeting. He immediately abandoned his pose and came running toward her. Alarmed, Marinette shook her head and held up both hands in a sign that he didn't need to come in the middle of the shoot, but he quickly reached her and pulled her into a hug, breathing her name. her face crushed into the exquisite fabric of an embroidered baby blue long jacket, elegantly tailored to the exact angle of Adrien's shoulders, making him look like a mix between King Minji's Little Prince and something out of a Waterhouse painting. Marinette squeaked. Adrien, I biked here. I'm dirty, I shouldn't be touching your clothes. It's fine. He stepped back to look at her, hands on her shoulders, and gave her a lopsided smile. Cute outfit. Did you make it? Marinette once again felt self-conscious, her cheeks flaring up. Yes, but what are you talking about when you're unfairly pretty right now? I'm really sorry I didn't respond to your messages, or even read them, Adrien blurted, skipping responding to her remark as if he had been burning to get the apology off his chest and couldn't waste time getting to the point. I felt really crummy yesterday and didn't look at my phone at all, and I've been at the shoot since early this morning. Now I feel bad. I should have at least read your messages. I'm really sorry if you said anything important. Don't worry, it's okay, Marinette reassured. She tried to give him an easy smile to allay his worries, but the way he was looking at her with such earnest concern, combined with how charming he looked and the reminder that they had technically broken up and he wasn't hers, filled her with a dejected sense of longing that sapped her energy. I just said that we should talk because she wanted to tell him she was Ladybug and he was torturing himself for no reason. Wow, was that ever a promise and an intention that she couldn't follow through on? It made her want to scream. Her mother's words came back to her. Just reassure him he has nothing to worry about, that he doesn't need to beat himself up. She gave him a shaky smile. Because I think we might have overreacted a bit. Don't you think so? Maybe we just need to talk things out. Adrien twisted his lips, uncertain. Maybe. I don't know. He looked so lost. I meant what I said, but I just don't want to hurt you. You know I still love you, Marinette. Those words again. He said it so easily as if it were an obvious truth. Marinette flushed, feeling dizzy all of a sudden. His words and his behavior were as if they were still dating. She found herself floundering in a no-man's land where she wasn't sure what her relationship with Adrien was supposed to be like. What was the meaning of dating someone? What was a breakup between two people in love? Did Adrien just mean they shouldn't go on dates? She felt so confused, she couldn't bring herself to tell him that she loved him back. Marinette! Vincent's jovial exclamation cut the mood, and both teens turned to see him approaching with a wide smile and a gleam in his eye. Perfect timing. We are about to move to the bridge, and it would be absolutely perfect if you could join Adriano for the shoot. The chemistry would be simply... He kissed his fingertips. Magnifico. Marinette blanched. Of course, everyone still thought they were together. I'm not dressed, and my hair, my makeup. Not to worry, Vincent cried, steering her toward a nearby tent. Everything will be taken care of. Marinette glanced over her shoulder at Adrien, who shrugged helplessly, giving her a thumbs up and a doting smile. Marinette didn't feel like herself, decked out in flowing, gauzy fabrics, flowers woven into her braids and her makeup giving her the slightly inhuman, exaggeratedly neutral look of a ball-jointed doll. She felt like Ophelia straight off a Shakespearean stage. Vincent adjusted Adrien's arm to drape languidly across Marinette's shoulders, and she felt his cheek and the warmth of his breath against the side of her head, sending a flutter into her chest. Do you hate me? He whispered as Vincent moved back to shooting range. Marinette shook her head lightly. Of course not. Vincent took a few shots, then gave the next direction. Touch his hand. Marinette wove her fingers in between Adrien's, causing Vincent to nod vigorously in approval. Yes, yes, now look into the distance, like you can smell your mama's spaghetti in the other room and you just want to eat it. He wanted a yearning look. That was easy. Marinette tuned herself to the warmth of Adrien's body against hers, the potent energy in his slender fingers. It was his right hand, and her attention zeroed in on the ring he wore. She had noticed it before, of course, but she figured it was one of those signet rings rich families often wore. Kagami had one too. She remembered that Tiki mentioned Chenoir always had his Miraculous on him. Of course he did. She and Chenoir were no different. They were in this together like two halves of a whole. Faintly, Marinette slid one finger against the curve of his ring. Was it his Miraculous? She imagined his hand covered in black leather and charged with the power of destruction. His fingers twitched and gave hers a gentle squeeze. "It's you," she thought wistfully. "Isn't it?" It had to be him. She had seen Chenoir's sweet and soft side. She knew how sincere and devoted he could be. She had seen Adrien's curious, playful side and even been reminded of Sha. She thought it was because her partner was the other boy who would naturally be on her mind, but now everything seemed to click. Now that she had seen it, she couldn't unsee it anymore. "And now," Vincent practically cackled with gleeful, maniacal inspiration. "A kiss! All the fans want to see you kiss." "Are you sure?" Adrien asked dubiously. "For a perfume ad?" "A little bit of fan service never hurt anyone, Adriano. You haven't seen the forums. The forums! The people are crying out. We want Mama Spaghetti. We must serve the people what they are asking for, Adriano." Marinette looked up at him. He was gazing at her tenderly, the sunlight catching in his hair, looking like a right angel. The tenderness of that gaze. No wonder there was something nostalgic and familiar about it. Even though she hadn't returned Chenoir's affections, it made her feel special when he gave her that look. "If it's okay with you, princess," he murmured yieldingly. She nodded. Princess. The name reverberated in her heart. "I'm sorry to put you through this," Adrien added. "Don't be. You know you really don't have to do this." "I know, but I want to." He leaned forward, eyes glittering with contrite melancholy. "I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm the absolute worst." "Stop punishing yourself. We need to talk, okay?" she whispered before touching her lips to the corner of his mouth. She felt a shaky breath escape him. "We will," he whispered back. "Don't be shy, children," Vincent commanded. "On the lips." Marinette and Adrien's eyes met hesitantly. "We don't have to if you don't want to," Marinette hedged, not wanting to push the boundaries. It had been Adrien's choice to break up, and she still hadn't fully grasped where exactly they drew the line. "You know I want nothing more than to whisk you away from here and kiss you for real," Adrien avowed, then blushed, realizing he was out of line. "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that." "There are many things you shouldn't have said," Marinette affirmed, without fire. She shifted her lips a centimeter to the left, meeting Adrien's eagerly waiting ones. She shifted her lips a centimeter to the left, meeting Adrien's eagerly waiting ones. "Silly kitty," she thought sadly. "If it's you. My poor Minou. Torturing yourself all this time for falling in love with me twice." Even if he were just Adrien and not Sha, all it proved was that he didn't only love the mask. He really loved her. Both closed their eyes and gave in to the sweet, timidly indulgent kiss. It was just a pose, but it was enough to lift them both into another dreamlike dimension. It was torturous bliss, a taste of heaven. But it wasn't real, not yet. Marinette thought back to when she had to kiss Chenoir during the fight with Dislocoeur. Did it feel the same? Hard to tell. The circumstances were completely different. Maybe. Could she be wrong? Maybe, but she didn't think so. Her intuition was screaming, "It's him." Yet she understood how terrifying it must have been for Adrien to suspect she was Ladybug and not be sure. How he must have felt like he was throwing his heart into a void, unsure whether it was going to be caught or not. If Marinette had suspected first that Chenoir was Adrien, would the same thing have happened to her? Would she have fallen for him? Would she be as confused and conflicted as Adrien was now? Probably. She couldn't be angry with him. She understood. Letting their lips part, Marinette caught Adrien's eyes again. His eyes, so green, like gleaming gems pooling with light, were locked on hers. The mask changed his eyes, but she recognized him. Yet the mere thought of saying something, of even calling him Minou to his unmasked face, made her stomach bottom out. Tiki's warnings echoed in her mind. A single word dropped from her lips could initiate a domino effect that she had no way of anticipating. Suddenly, her present love seemed so small, and fear gripped her heart. How could she choose her own little love in the face of the universe's safety? How could one word of hers have such an effect on the entire universe? How did one unthink a thought? How could the damage be reversed? Marinette realized that she would have no control over what happened once she chose to reveal her identity, where that information would spread, how anyone would react. Could she promise this information would stay between her and Adrien? Did she even know what she was dealing with? Ancient magic and multidimensional forces? No. Frankly, Tiki's warnings from that morning terrified her. The amount of responsibility and power that a simple decision gave her was extremely overwhelming. She had been so ready to tell Adrien, whether he was Chanois or not. Now she was realizing she might have to give up the possibility of ever removing these barriers of secrets and half-truths from between her and Adrien. Even if they stayed together and got married the way she had dreamed, would she have to lie to him for the rest of her life? Could she handle that? All of a sudden, the mere inches of distance between her and Adrien seemed to grow and grow, and she stopped sensing his hand on her arm. She felt like she was looking through a mask, even though she was just Marinette. She felt her face grow cold as the blood drained from it, and her hands began to tremble. Adrien touched her cheek. "Are you okay, Marinette?" The sound of the camera clicking sounded like it was coming from miles away. Adrien's voice faded out as Marinette's vision slid to black. Thank you for listening to Carousel of Life, Chapter 24. Let me know what you thought in the comments below or leave a thumbs up to show your support. The next part is coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for updates. Until next time!